Hey y'all, good to see you again. DJ the Trucker here, otherwise known as Jonathan. Wanted to point something out to a lot of the I say non-driving, but there's a lot of people out there that are following me that they're not drivers, they're not truck drivers, but they love this information, which is helpful to a point. If you have a family member that drives or something like that, this is good for you to know as well. A truck driver is limited to 70 hours on duty in any consecutive 8-day week. On duty is any combination of driving and all that. The driving, the on duty, not driving, where they do the pre-trips, post-trips, fueling, all that. All the work done during the day, during their 14-hour shift. During this time, they're going to run out of hours. I.e., my example, I just did. Last night I ran out of hours, and I only picked up 3 hours and 50 minutes last night at midnight. So I took care of what I had to take care of today, got myself under my new load, and am fixing to take off about 8 p.m. tomorrow night, because I pick up 8 more hours at midnight tonight, but I also pick up more hours the next day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, at 8 p.m., I'm going to take off, and I'm going to drive straight. Get me as far as I possibly can. This is where planning a trip comes in. If you know your hours, you pick up hours at a specified time at midnight, every night, your local time, your terminal time. If you're in Eastern time, Central, it don't matter. If I'm in Central, I'm in the Eastern time zone right now, but my home terminal is in the Central time zone. So that's where all my clock work for my log has to be done, in my home terminal time zone. If I was in California, it'd be California time. So you understand that the time zones, they only apply to the shipper and receivers. They don't apply to the logs. The logs must be of your home terminal, whether it be Florida, Kentucky, Connecticut, Iowa, Missouri, Mississippi, Denver, Colorado, wherever. You get my point. If it's Eastern, if you're in the Eastern time zone for your home, that's your time zone for your logs. And it's all the way across the U.S. Even in Hawaii and Alaska. If you're trucking right out there, same deal. You got to go by that time zone. It doesn't matter where you are in the U.S. Your logs are by the time zone you live in. So with that out of the way, and that understanding, drivers have a 70-hour clock to work with over an 8-day week. I started working last week about, I think, Wednesday. It is now Friday night. I ran out of hours. I had 3 hours left on my clock when I started today. Tomorrow night, I pick up 5 hours. That's all. That's all I put in when I took off that day. I worked 5 hours 8 days ago, and I'm picking that back up on my recap tomorrow, 8 days later. To give you an example, think of this as a tree, okay? 8 days sectioned. New time goes in here. Day 2. Day 1, now you've got day 2 here. Day 3, here's day 1, here's day 2, here's day 3, and so on up the ladder. As you climb the top of the ladder, at the top of the ladder, your time falls off. So you've got something, everything pushes its way up and then falls off the ladder. At the top of the ladder, whatever falls off falls back in the pool, and you have access to it again. I know it's a strange analogy, but it does work. So now you have a problem. You've worked out your 70-hour clock. You're running off of what we call recaps, but you're barely picking up anything for the next 3 days for whatever reason. Now you have a serious problem you've got to figure out. What do you do? Do you work 12 hours? Say you're only picking up 12 hours over the next 3-day period. Do you run short runs for those next 3 days? Or do you stop? This is where you have to get with the driver manager, whoever your dispatching is, and discuss that with them about stopping and doing a 70-hour restart, 34-hour restart. This will reset your 70-hour clock to 0, but you have to do 34 consecutive hours. To give you an idea, I have a table. I'm not going to show you who it's from, whose booklet this is, because I got my hands on it through a friend of mine, put it that way. And he showed me the table, and I've been using the heck out of it every time I question what time I need to do something. There's all kinds of stuff in this orientation book from this other company. I don't pull for them, and I can't really pull for them because they're all flatbed. But this booklet is busted. It's basically saved my ass a few times already. On a 34-hour restart, there's optimal times and there's non-optimal times. Worst times to start. Okay? Mandatory breaks are, 30, that kind of thing. That doesn't entail when you start your clock. So, we have optimal times. They start at, I'm going to use the military time terms as a reference, so you know it's AM or PM. Optimal time to start is going to be at 1900 hours, anywhere between 1900 hours and 2400 hours. So anywhere between 7 p.m. and midnight. Okay? You will get 34 hours consecutive in that. Because you're required to have a mandatory 4 o'clock, if I remember right. It's 4, you have to have like 2 periods of 4 and 7. Or something like that in there. You have to have 2 of those for it to be a legitimate clock. 2 periods of 4 o'clock in there. So, and they have to be full periods. So the best time to start is at 7 p.m. say on 2 days prior before you want your clock to reset. If you're one of the drivers that love to stay out 3-4 weeks at a time, this is for you. This 34-hour restart will work for you. Just got to find a day when you want to stop. Doesn't matter what day it is. That you want to stop and reset your clock back to 70. To where you can get the maximum number of mileage out of your days. By working 11 driving and 14 work day. Again, your 14 work day is when you're loading or unloading at a ship or receiver. Whether you're doing it or you're being unloaded, you must log time on that. For a certain amount of time. There's ways around that as well. But your company dictates what that is. Your fueling is always logged. No matter how long it takes. If it takes you an hour to get through the line and up to the pumps, you gotta log that. If the pump is really slow, it takes a half an hour to fill your tanks, well, guess what? You got 30 minutes on your clock. Pre-trip. Companies dictate how long of a pre-trip you have to do. Some companies say 16 minutes is long enough. Others say they want a 30-minute pre-trip. And some companies don't care as long as you've got 5 minutes pre-trip in the start, which is basically a turn the lights on, walk around the truck, thump the tires, get back in the truck, take off. A legal pre-trip, legal meaning that you've done the checks that you're supposed to do for a DOT pre-trip, should take 16 minutes or more. 16 minutes or more. But I'm not going to get into that because that's not my place. That is dictated by the company and what they want you to do. And then, of course, you're on duty, not driving time, where you're loading, unloading, changing trailers, pre-tripping, all of that time. Those all count, as well as your driving on your work days. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're running out of your clock and you're going to stay out for 4 weeks straight for whatever reason, 34-hour restart's the best way to go. the best restart somewhere in there. Work off recaps till you get tired. Take it, and this will give you a refreshing, physical refreshing, which you do need. So, in closing, in summary now, drivers have a 70-hour work week over an 8-day period. If you're going to see that you're going to get low on hours and you're not going to be able to pull off getting maximum miles for several consecutive days, or you just physically need a reset of your own, but you do not want to go home, or you're not going home, 34-hour restart is optimally the best. You can get a full restart out by starting at 7 p.m. and starting your next day 34 hours later at 4 a.m. Your restart will be complete, your hours will reset to 0, and away you go. You can do that all the way up to midnight of the day you want to start. And then you have to go at least, if you start at midnight, you got to go to 10 a.m. That'll be 34 hours. So if you start at midnight between Friday, Saturday, you have all day Saturday you got to sit. Can't move the truck, can't do nothing. And you won't be able to start until 10 a.m. Monday morning. Or Sunday morning, excuse me. So, bear that in mind. If you start a reset, you got 34 hours, you must do nothing. You must not do a thing. If ever questionable, obviously you're going to check your driver managers. It's their job to tell you, hey, yes, this is the deal, yes, this is not. But this restart it can be a lifesaver. But it could also bite you in the butt, because it can catch you off guard if you're not watching it and you go to do this reset and your shipper wants you to have that load there on the next night. Well, if you have to move the truck, so you got to work off your recap, so plan it accordingly. Until then, y'all, you all be safe, don't get in any trouble out there. You drivers and four-wheelers, y'all give us some room. It takes a truck a lot longer than you think it does to stop. So, y'all be safe. We'll see you again.